Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we discuss all things financial literacy. Now, last year, I did a video on how you can get approved for an SBA loan in 2025. And this year, we're going to do an updated version about how you can get SBA loans and SBA-backed business lines of credit in 2026. Last year, I had taken a step back from business credit cards so that I could actually focus on purchasing assets and acquiring more things through SBA loans. Business credit cards are really good for low-cost transactions, and while it is possible to liquidate them, it's very time-consuming, and I didn't want to constantly be on the hunt for 0% APR credit cards. I think this year I've only actually gotten 2 new business credit cards, and I'm still focused on SBA loans and SBA backed products. The reason SBA backed products became my primary focus is because of the low interest rates that are going on right now. As a matter of fact, SBA loan rates are the lowest they've been in over a year, thanks to a series of rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. There were 3 rate cuts in 2025, each by a 0.25 percentage point. That is a 25 basis point, totaling 75 basis points of a reduction. These cuts took place at the final 3 meetings of 2025, bringing the federal fund rate to a target range of 3.50% to 3.75% by December of 2025. That is way lower than any credit card option that you'll have, not to mention they have much longer repayment terms and various loan options. To date, in total, I've been approved for over 6 SBA-backed loans, and while it hasn't been too difficult, I understand the reason why it can seem like a challenge. So today, we're going to break down the easy steps that you can take to get approved for an SBA loan in 2026. I'll also be giving you some data points, some application tips as well, and if you stay with me until the end, I'll recommend a SBA preferred lender guide that you can download completely for free, and that way you'll be able to get the best SBA lenders for 2026. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's start at the beginning. What is an SBA loan? Well, this is the Small Business Administration, and this is a government agency that helps small businesses get funded by partnering with approved lenders. Now, this will be lenders like Chase, let's say Bank of America, US Bank, Wells Fargo, so on and so forth. The SBA doesn't actually lend the money. They guarantee a portion of the loan, which does make it easier for you to get approved, even if you're a new or growing business. There's a few types of SBA loans, but the most common is the SBA 7A loan, which does offer up to $5 million for working capital, equipment, and even refinancing existing debt. Now, this SBA 7A loan also offers repayment terms up to 25 years. That is one of the longest terms that you will ever see. Now, there are other types, including the 504 loan. They're very specific and offer loans up to $5.5 million for the purpose of commercial real estate, land, and equipment, which also offers terms up to 25 years. And the third common type of SBA loan is the microloan, up to $50,000 for smaller funding needs, and microloans offer terms up to 6 years. Now, I talked about this last year. This is going to be one of the most important types of business funding, especially in the next, let's say, 3 to 4 years. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs, they're aware of what SBA loans are, but you rarely ever hear about them because whenever it seems like in our community, if things seem too complicated or it requires, let's say, what we believe to be extensive documentation or things that we don't understand, we seem to shy away from it. But this is something that I believe can actually close wealth gaps, help you acquire cash flowing assets for the future. And you can do this right now at some of the lowest interest rates possible. If you hyper focus on this instead of credit cards and you look at how you can actually scale into cash flowing assets, there will be a shift. Okay. It will shift not only how your community looks, it will also shift what it means to actually create wealth for the people that are watching this video. Next, let's talk about some SBA loan general requirements. Number 1, you must have a for-profit business to qualify for an SBA loan. So simply meaning your business structure must be one that actually is for-profit and that is making money. So if you have a nonprofit organization, then you might want to consider getting a grant instead. That is the option that you can lean on. Number 2 is business operation. You must own and operate a business that is in the United States. So for the people watching this video, I would say for a majority of us, we're going to meet that requirement. Number 3 is business address. You must have a mailing address that is in the United States. So once again, for most of us, I believe that will be applicable. You will be in the US probably if you're watching this video. Number 4 is going to be your business organization. I know we briefly touched on that, but your business must be legally organized as a sole proprietorship, a corporation, a partnership, or an LLC. Now, I just released a video showing you how you can actually get business credit cards without a business, but the video really is about being a sole proprietor. So the benefit of being a sole prop is that you can potentially use your personal bank statements or your personal tax returns in order to actually qualify for higher SBA funding. So that is a benefit that you can potentially leverage depending on your personal situation. Number 5, you need to have an eligible business type. Now, if you are in a certain industry that engages in, let's say, gambling, lobbying, politics, pyramid sales, adult entertainment, things of that nature, then you probably know that you will not be able to qualify for an SBA loan. And I think for the most part, a majority of the people watching this video should know some industries that would be scrutinized. If you do not, I have an entire video where I talk about NACE codes and SIC, also known as SIC codes. I explain exactly what those codes are, how they're categorized, where they were derived from. I'm going to link that video right here. I highly recommend that you refer back to that if you're not sure if your industry is high risk or maybe an industry that's not eligible for SBA loans. Now, here are some other SBA loan requirements. You must meet the SBA's definition of a small business, and this will vary depending on your industry, but generally you'll need fewer than 500 employees. Number 2 is limited funding. SBA loans were created to help those who may have trouble getting loans elsewhere. So if you go to the SBA website, it actually states like verbatim, your business must not be able to obtain the desired credit on reasonable terms from non-federal, non-state, and non-local government sources. And the SBA lender submitting your application, they will document this. Now, what I mean by that is when you actually go to submit your application, more than likely you will talk to someone from that lender. Again, it could be US Bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, depending on who you go to. They will ask you a series of questions. Normally in those questions, they're going to ask you things like, will this give other people jobs? If we don't give you this funding, will this affect someone else's livelihood? Will it affect your business? How will it impact? Like, they won't ask you direct questions where they just say, do you need this? But they're going to ask it in some version of that. So I would just keep a lookout for when that question comes up. The main thing is you need to make sure that you've exhausted all other options, and this is the last option that you're turning to. Now, again, because this question will come up, you do not have to prove this. You don't have to prove it, but it does need to be stated, okay? So they will ask you, and obviously, if you're in need of this funding in order to operate your business, then yes, you need this. Number 3 is credit worthiness. Lenders will look at your credit score for an SBA 7A loan, and the SBA, they don't actually require a specific credit score. That's set by the lender. So just know that if you go to the SBA website, they will not show any credit requirement in order for you to get these loans. That will be set by the institution that you apply with. In my experience, every lender will list the minimum credit score that's required on their website. However, a score of usually 640 or higher is typically what you need, so I wouldn't really panic. You can actually still qualify with a lower score if other factors are strong. Now, before applying for any SBA loans, you need to have a clear and current picture of your credit, and that's why I recommend that you use Rising. That's going to give you access to all 3 of your credit scores and your reports, and it's going to show what may actually be hurting your credit. You can also take some action through the custom dispute letters and bureau response tracking. You can also do things like report rent and utilities that will actually build positive payment history that can increase your score. There's even things like back reporting that can give you 24 months of payment history. That definitely does help. And it also includes personalized credit game plans and score tracking. Now, right now, you can get access to that for $1 through their 7-day trial. I'm going to link that down in the description below. But I always recommend before you start applying for SBA loans, know where you stand and have a strategy to get your score as high as you possibly can before you start applying for these. Number 4 is business history. Now, believe this or not, the SBA doesn't actually have a set amount of time. Most lenders, they want to see at least 2 years of operation, but new businesses can qualify with a solid business plan and personal credit history. Now, I'm sure most of you are confused right now because primarily what you normally hear is that to get an SBA loan, you need 2 years in operation, you need tax returns, you need heavy documentation. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is not true. That is false. Again, all of these requirements are not set by the SBA. They're set by the lender. And all you need to have is a comprehensive list of the lenders that don't have these requirements and a strategy to actually apply for these. And I'm very certain of this because I've done it myself. Like, I've applied for plenty of SBA loans with the business before it was even 1 year old. Again, we're going to talk about the strategy that you need to implement. Now, generally, the longer you've been in business, the easier it'll be to get approved for an SBA loan. But, once again, just to clarify, there is technically no requirement for time in business. Now, number 5 is going to be business credit. And this one is very important because this is a factor for SBA loan approvals. Now, I remember like when I first started my channel, there was someone that told me that business credit, building it, is a waste of time. And that information it is false, just flat out. It's false. It's not true. But at the same time, I think I understood what he was trying to say. What he was trying to say is for most business credit cards, if you generally have solid personal credit, you can get approved. While that is true in some instances, because there are some business credit cards that do look at your business credit score in order to approve you, a majority of them just want you to have good personal credit. Again, that's good for business credit cards. At some point, you will hit a ceiling. You will exhaust most of the 0% APR offers. You will eventually run out of credit cards that you can apply for because you've probably hit every single institution. When that does happen, you'll start looking at other ways that you can actually get business funding, especially ways that don't require you to have to liquidate and do all of these other things that require massive amounts of time and energy. Instead, you can get something like an SBA loan. SBA lenders will use the FICO Small Business Scoring Service, that is SBSS. They will use that when checking your business credit score, and your business score will range from 0 to 300. This score is used to pre-screen those who apply for an SBA loan, and having a score of at least 155 will help you get approved. But again, if all you want is business credit cards, I have a business credit playlist. You can take a look at several credit cards. I mean, I think I've touched on almost every single business credit card from every major financial institution. So if you want to do that, by all means, go ahead. Again, at some point, if you exhaust all of your options, you have nothing left, you'll most likely come back to SBA loans, business lines of credit, other alternative financing options for business funding, and all this information will still be here for you. And number 7 is going to be collateral requirements. Now, the SBA requires lenders to obtain collateral to secure the loan from all owners of the business, and that can be in the form of a personal guarantee or other qualified collateral. However, collateral isn't required for loans under $25,000, and that's going to be very important for our strategy. Now, for loans over $350,000, collateral must cover as much of the loan amount as possible. So just know that in the future, if you are looking for like huge funding, you will need to have assets that can match the amount of money that you are asking for. And then the last thing that I want to touch on is your ability to repay. Now, your business should show that you can repay the loan, which means you'll need to provide financial statements like income statements, balance sheets, and cash flow projections. Once again, the higher amounts that you ask for, the heavier the documentation will be that you'll need to provide. I want to briefly touch on personal and business documents. Now, these are documents that may be needed depending on the type of loan program. And I know that a lot of people like to focus on no doc and things like that. Recently, I just did my business tax returns. I did them last year. I now have 2 years of business taxes. It is not as difficult as you think. I do recommend that you hire a CPA. I feel confident in doing them myself now after doing it in year 2, but I would recommend that if you do not, you hire a professional to do that for you. It's not as hard as you think, guys. Having business documentation is really, like, in my opinion, not that much different than you having your personal taxes done. You have to do it every single year. Just think of your business like that too. Even if your business did not make money, that's still fine. You just want to make sure that everything is documented, because there is a stigma that we have when it comes to no documentation, no doc loans, no doc credit cards. We have to get away from that. That is a really like low level way of thinking. You want to have a cash flowing business. We're not just getting loans and credit to just stack them up. I'm assuming that you're getting them because you want to make money. Now, if that's your intention, obviously at some point, if you make money, you'll have to eventually pay taxes on that money. You will have documentation. Now, at some point, maybe later on in this year, I will cover maybe briefly exactly all of the documents that you need for your taxes, maybe even how to file that in like a comprehensive guide. So I may do that in the future. Now, the documents will be a business plan, a financial statement, a business financial statement, a business certification and license, a business debt schedule, bank statements, and incorporation documents. Now, for me personally, any SBA loan that I've been approved for, I've only had to provide bank statements and incorporation documents. Those are the only two things that I've had to provide. You may need a business certification and license depending on your type of business or what you're doing, but I think that goes hand in hand with incorporation documents. But I have yet needed to provide a business plan, financial statements, business financial statements, or a business debt schedule. Now, I do think that you should have these things. You should have these things ready to go in case you do need them. But in my situation, I have not yet. So just know, ideally, you should have these things for a brand new business, especially if you've only been operating for, let's say, 6 months. You probably won't have a majority of this. Lenders understand that. Again, it's all in the application they're going to see. So it's not an expectation. Now, for me, I just did my taxes once again, like I said, so that's 2 years of tax returns. Now that I have those, there are much higher levels of SBA loans that I will be applying for in year 2. So you'll probably be seeing that as the following months go on. And then I'll take you step by step through those different options and how I got approved and how you can get approved as well for the future. Now let's cover the easy application strategy. So number one, if you're applying for an SBA backed loan, I recommend in the beginning you apply for an SBA 7A loan or a microloan. These particular SBA loans, they offer the most lenient requirements and they have programs geared toward a business that has been operating for less than 1 year. So all the lenders that I've been approved for that I've shown you in past videos and the ones that you'll see in that guide, they're going to be lenders that are geared towards a business that is just starting operation. Now, I also have another video about how to get a startup business loan in a few simple steps where I talk about actually getting microloans and I give you step-by-step instructions on how to do that. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link that right here. Now, please listen to me carefully. I don't want this to get confused. I'm not saying that you should only apply for an SBA 7A loan or a microloan indefinitely. No, don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that if you have been operating a business for less than a year and you don't have 2 years of business tax returns or bank statements that you would like to show for the last 2 years, then these are the ones that you will need to focus on. Now, number two, once you have chosen an SBA loan, you never ask for more than $25,000. If you never ask for more than $25,000, in most situations, they will not ask you for documentation. Now, I will say that sometimes I have been asked for light documentation. They only asked me for 3 bank statements. And again, this will vary by lender, but I was asked for either business or personal. And just to provide income showing that I can actually pay back this loan reasonably. Now, if you do ask for more than $25,000, they may require more documentation. That's why I have videos where I recommend, like my business line of credit video, only getting $25,000 from various sources. And I'll probably link that video here about the business lines of credit, but getting $25,000 from each of those to get a total amount of $100,000. You can play this very strategically, okay? That's my recommendation. Do not cross that threshold or else it will require more unless you actually have the business income to prove it. If you do, by all means, ask for more. But if you do ask for more, I do believe that $50,000 should be the cap. And just for clarification, that will be the cap for SBA 7A loans and SBA microloans. Number 3 is your business credit score. You need to have a structured business. If you do, it makes this process way easier. We've already talked about this in several videos. If you are not sure how to structure your business, check out my video on not only how to start a business, but how to structure a business using net 30s and various accounts within 30 days. And finally, your personal credit score. The stronger your personal credit score is, the less likely the lender will request financial documentation. So look, guys, if you have a 640 credit score, I'm not saying that, that's like the end all be all. You can still get approved with a score like that. In fact, like I said before, that is usually the minimum score on most of these applications. However, if your credit score is low, your business is not structured properly, it looks shaky, more than likely an underwriter who's looking at this will need more documentation to approve you. Not because they don't want to approve you, but just because there isn't enough information here to feel confident that you can actually pay this back. So if you have a higher credit score, right? If you have something in like the 700s, if you have a structured business, you're making it very easy for this person to approve you. So make their job easy. So just keep that in mind, that you can have a 640 or higher, but a 700 would be really good, because when they see that this individual has high income, they have a high credit score, so they're very responsible, they're less likely to ask you for any other documentation or financial review. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't happen whatsoever. It just means it's less likely to happen. Now, if you want specific examples of banks, like I said, I had plenty with US Bank and then other institutions. You can refer back to those videos and check those out. But this is a pretty much comprehensive idea of what you should do step by step in order to easily get approved for SBA loans. As long as you stick with SBA 7A or micro, request only $25,000 and you can get multiple of these loans. You structure your business and you have a strong personal credit score. Again, 640 in most instances are the minimum, but check the website. The institution will tell you what their requirements are. They're the ones that make those. But if you're at a 700 or higher, it just puts you in a much better position. So if you can follow, these things that are outlined, if you meet those requirements and then you follow these steps, you will likely get approved with as less pushback as possible. So right now, if you go to my website, www.successwithstevensmith.com, some of you have already done this. I have compiled a comprehensive guide of preferred SBA lenders, and I've done this by state. So if you're interested in applying for an SBA loan, of course, then you can definitely do this. It's completely free. You just need to know what SBA preferred lenders are available to you, and then you'll find the right one that is in your area or your particular state. Now, the banking institutions on this list, they have been named by the SBA themselves as preferred lenders as of the recording of this video. I always recommend contacting them directly to see what the current status is within the U.S. Small Business Administration. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly do appreciate it. If you got any value from this, please like and subscribe. If you do have any questions about SBA loans, yes, leave those in the comments and I'll be answering those as quickly as I possibly can. I also want to point out that because I have reached that 2 years of actually submitting business tax returns, I will be looking to then now move on to other things besides the SBA 7A and the microloans. So I will be looking for larger funding amounts, and I will keep that documented and actually show you my process when I get approved. That way you can follow the same thing that I did and you can get approved for those as well, beyond $50,000 and, hopefully to 6-figure approvals. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it, and you have a wonderful day.